Let's talk to Alex Wilson, though, Reform UK's London Assembly member, a man who does an awful lot of good work down there trying to fight the good fight against Sadiq Khan, who it turns out, according to a tweet from Alex this week, is chosen to spend £1.4 billion on net zero and just £1.1 billion on policing. I have to say, Alex, I mean, hard to believe that he's spending over £1 billion on policing when policing in London is so appalling.
Morning, Mike. Yeah, it's incredible. He's been trumpeting the fact that he's managed to increase his policing budget this year, and he's claiming it's the biggest that the mayor has ever spent on policing. Obviously, we're yet to see the results of that on the streets. We know there are stabbings happening pretty much every other day. Burglaries effectively decriminalised, shoplifting off the scale. So, whether it will make much of an impact, who knows? But no, the staggering thing that we discovered when we were looking at the budget, 'cause it was yesterday was the final meeting for the Assembly to consider and comment on and try and amend, if possible, although we failed to do so, the mayor's budget. And when we were looking at the figures, we were adding up the different columns on the different tabs on the spreadsheets, and we were really sort of quite surprised and well, maybe not surprised, but certainly shocked and disappointed to see that when you take things in the round, this year's mayoral budget is spending more on climate and net zero related measures than it is on policing. Now, the mayor has said in his press releases that nothing is more important to him than keeping Londoners safe. Now, we obviously disagree over whether he's successfully achieving that or not. But if you're saying something is your number one priority, you would expect that to be the thing you're spending most money on, wouldn't you? I mean, certainly that's how I would.
Well, you would have thought so, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense, because it can't be your number one priority if that's not where you're spending your money. You put your money where your mouth is, basically, don't you?
Exactly.
And so, you tried to get an answer out of him, of course, and you always, valiantly try to get answers out of him, but he's not very good at giving answers, is he?
No, and he's not good at giving answers to me, and he's not good at giving answers to some of the Conservatives who wind him up as well. Our job is to hold him to account. We know that he's failing as mayor on housing, on crime, on transport, and the 25 of us on the Assembly, we're there to ask the questions, to hold him to account, and try and get him to see the error of his ways. And he's not very receptive to that, let's say.
Well, if you want some help on how to deal with questions about net zero, you can always go to our good friends at GB Energy. Now, I don't know whether you've ever had any dealings with them, but there's a bloke called Jürgen who runs GB Energy. Here's what he's got to say about your bill.
It will help bring energy prices down.
When?
Well, it's a matter for government and policy to decide.
But as the boss of this, and as someone who is driving forward the ambition of the government, you surely have an idea in your head of when that central pledge to the people of reducing their bills by £300 will come into action.
It is not in the remit of Great British Energy to work out exactly how that energy costing gets through to the consumer.
So Great British Energy doesn't actually have anything to do with how much you get charged for your energy. Nobody's quite sure what Jürgen does. We think he runs the GB Energy organisation, which doesn't appear to be much of an organisation. So I don't know how much hope that you've got for that sort of future.
No, it's shocking. And since the government came to power on a manifesto pledge of cutting energy bills by £300, and since then we've had 3 rises in the energy price cap. It's off the scale, and we all know, I know, and an increasing proportion of the British public are discovering and waking up to the fact that it's net zero that's driving this.
Yeah.
It's the ever relentless move to renewables, which are unreliable. It means you have to have backup capacity as well. We have huge amounts of energy resource, the treasure under our feet. We should be using that. But this government is ideologically wedded to offshoring jobs and the carbon emissions elsewhere. It's not going to make a scrap of difference to global emissions, whatever we do here. What it will make a difference to is our economy, our steel industry on the floor, chemicals industry on the floor, automotive industry on the floor. You see Luton closing their plant in Vauxhall, directly because of electric vehicle mandates and net zero. It's an absolute disgrace. It's the biggest act of economic self-harm this country has ever engaged in, and Reform UK is the only party that will stop it.
Yeah, exactly right. And I mean, Reform really is the only party that talks about stopping it as well, because we've got this morning a story from the Climate Change Committee, who basically said that, they want to spend another £5 billion of our money. They want us to stop flying. They want us to stop eating meat. They want us to stop driving cars. They want us to get heat pumps installed in our houses and just basically put a load of tax up. But at the same time, this government is so schizophrenic that we're hearing about a 3rd runway at Heathrow that Rachel Reeves is pushing forward with, and a 2nd runway at Gatwick. I mean, which one is it that they're doing?
Increasing aviation capacity, I support them on that if it actually comes to
well,
fruition.
no, I do as well. But I mean, they can't have a net zero policy over here, and then on the other hand, over there, they've got, you know, let's expand the airports.
Well, they're sort of pushing the can down the road and hoping that nothing will actually happen on their watch. But no, as far as the Climate Change Committee's demands are concerned, they want us to stop driving, they want to stop flying. Everyone's got to have a heat pump. Well, this evening for my dinner, I'll make sure I'll have a nice, fat, juicy steak, and I will enjoy every last mouthful of it.
Yeah, and turn up the radiators as well while you're at it, because it'll probably be quite cold. But thank you very much indeed.